Welcome to the MFR Coaches Podcast, where we talk about how you can create a six-figure MFR practice. I'm your host, Heather Hommel. Not only have I been practicing MFR for 11 years, I'm also a life and business coach, especially for MFR therapists. My goal is for you to understand how to get fully booked, how to talk to your clients, and how to make sure they understand what's possible for them with MFR treatment. I'm here to help you stop under-earning, overworking, and burning out. I'll lend support so you can create the MFR practice you've always wanted. Learn how you can do it too, even if you live in a tiny town, and even if you're just starting out, and even if you've ran your practice for years. Let's go. Today's podcast episode is sponsored by MFR Brochures. MFR brochures were designed by an expert-level MFR therapist, especially for you, to make it easy to educate your clients and ensure they get the most out of their MFR treatments. MFR brochures showcase an easy way to talk to your clients about the healing crisis, emotions, unwinding, and at-home self-treatment. Order your beautifully designed and simple-to-display MFR brochures today. Go to www.mfrbrochures.com. While you're there, check out the brand new release of MFR banners and make your next event or booth even better with both MFR brochures and MFR banners. www.mfrbrochures.com. Use code MFR Podcast at checkout to save 10% on your next order. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the MFR Coaches Podcast. I'm joined today by a therapist named Tonya Allen. Tonya, welcome to the show. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about your MFR background and how you started doing myofascial release?
Well, thank you, Heather, for having me. Yeah, I have been practicing as a licensed massage therapist since 2003, and I just learned as I was coming out of school that doing the rub down frou-frou just wasn't for me. It was very boring as far as on it. I'm more of a sort of a fixer with it. I like to look at things, analyze things, evaluate things. And I started getting brochures from John Barnes through the mail. And I decided there was one class that was going to be local. It was the mobilization class. And so I figured, let's just try this out because I prefer to try things out on myself before trying anything on my clients. And so I took it and just loved it. I mean, Mobes is, especially Dave, the instructor, he's absolutely wonderful. And John came to Nashville and did a series, and I just took the MFR one at that time and just slowly did more, just a couple of more classes with it. I'm a little more travel bound, so it's a little harder unless they come into town. Mm-hmm. And I missed the last vacation seminar that they had here because we already had our vacation scheduled. So I was hoping to, it's like, it'd been great to take the unwinding, but I just have so many. I'm the only myofascial therapist here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And there's some in Nashville, and there's one in McMinnville, one in Franklin, but there's not a whole lot. So if anybody really is thinking about moving to Tennessee, please come. Because I am booked out probably anywhere, depending on what day of the week, anywhere from 2 to 3 months in advance.
Okay, great.
I mean, I don't even have to, I just have a website. That's it. Mm-hmm. I don't have to advertise or spend a whole lot of money into that. Now, my background as far as college and stuff, I was commercial art. So I have the art as well as the body therapy. And that's, and I started sort of incorporating and learning, let me just try, because art is more of a hobby for me, considering it's just an outlet, and change up things from doing a myofascial practice.
Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit. So we haven't worked together before. I don't think we've ever even met before, but I go to lots of different MFR therapists' practices. I like to travel and get treated. And then also I coach MFR therapists to get fully booked and have six-figure businesses. I really think it's important for MFR therapists to not only make money, but be able to know that they can afford to do the things that they want to do outside of their practice. But as part of like the traveling and going to all these different practices, I'm starting to see your artwork pop up at a lot of these places. And that got me interested. And the reason why I wanted to have you on the show is because it's really cool. And I love talking to people that do things that support MFR therapists, but also I think your artwork would look good in anyone's home. Why don't you talk a little bit about how you came up with some of your art concepts that are so MFR related, and what's that been like for you?
It's definitely been a learning process and very challenging, especially with the mediums that I use, because most of the time they have a life of their own. I can't really control a whole lot. I can put color schemes together. What started it is I had been starting to do Geode resin or epoxy resin artwork. It was just something to have fun with and to give a little bit of a creative outlet and to, change up things a bit. And I took a class on how to do the epoxy geode, and I did a few pieces. And then I'm like, I'm just going to play with something and I don't know how it's going to turn out. And I'm like, what if I did it a little bit like a fascia thing? And I did a piece, and of course I did not videotape anything of it or how I did it. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to put it out there on MFR Insight and just say, hey, what do y'all think about this? Does this even remotely look like fascia, or, what do you think of it? And I mean, the response was explosive.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, everybody was wanting the exact same piece. And unfortunately, I could not duplicate it. I tried so many.
It was a one-off, huh?
Oh, yeah. It's, and I've just learned that each piece is its own individual personality, and it will find its home wherever it needs to be. And which is great for me because I have a little bit of control freak. It's part of that letting go, the channel 5 and the channel 3, and working out that balance between the two and just letting it, whatever it comes out to be. And so I started doing the epoxy resin with it. So it gives it a little bit of a depth look to it. And I did a lot more abstract, or more what I called more zoomed in look to it in the beginning. And then I sort of changed things up. Of course, all artists, we always like to try different things because we get bored with certain stuff. Not that it doesn't look beautiful still, but just always trying something different. And then I did a little bit more of what I called my zoomed out phase, to where you saw more fascia instead of smaller pieces of fascia. And, because everybody likes different things different ways. And I thought it would be so cool to do this versus having actually real tissue photos, because a lot of people get squeamish when they see that, especially someone who's not of a medical background with it. Sure. And I'm like, this can just, to the average person, this can look like just an abstract piece of artwork, until someone points out, okay, well, this is to give you an idea of what fascia looks like without grossing someone out.
Yeah, good idea.
So it's because I have a few clients myself that are a little squeamish. So I thought, this is a good way to do it. And now I did get really 3D at one point, to where it was literally, you could pull the strings, on it lightly, gently, or you'd break them. But, and it looked like the photos, and I'm probably going to absolutely butcher his name, but Jean, the architect of Fascia.
Dr. G, as John calls him, right?
Dr. G. We'll just call him Dr. G.
Gianberto. Yes. Sometimes I can say it and sometimes I cannot. Depends. Yeah.
Because I know I'm going to butcher the name. And I'm like, oh, this is great. But I'm like, okay, this is probably getting a little too 3D. We need to go back up a little bit. And I decided to play with some other things. And then I started doing, recently in the past couple of months, I started doing more body outlines, which a lot of folks really like. My most popular right now is the walking woman.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen that in offices, and it's just gorgeous.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
And then I've done just the head profile as well, and just doing some more. I also did a land and sea version of it as well, which was really popular. Each piece completely comes out differently. I can use the same colors, do the exact same thing, and it just develops its own, of course, temperature control, but that's more acrylic.
Right.
I've gone from epoxy resin, which is extremely expensive to work with, and you have to wear a respirator and all that, to a little more of a acrylic,
Yeah.
where, hey, I can breathe,
Yeah.
during the process without sounding like Darth Vader. So I've gone to a little bit more of acrylic, and I'm doing a little bit larger pieces. Probably the largest I do right now is 18 by 24.
Mm-hmm.
I did try to do a larger piece than that, and it just kept failing. And I'm like, okay, this is my scope, my range.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I stay in.
That's so cool. So what do you think, outside of like fascia being the inspiration, why do you do this artwork?
It gives me a break, and it quietens my mind down, because I'm always analyzing and looking and evaluating things. I use both sides of my brain equally. So getting the artistic side gets me out of the mundane with it. Not that what I do is mundane. It's not that at all. I just need a variety of things
it's like creative, like a creative outlet.
Yeah, definitely a creative outlet. And it actually, sometimes I think of things that I can use while I'm doing it, just a different perspective, that for some reason it can click ideas of things to do during a session that I normally wouldn't have thought to do. And I think that the different perspective and doing something different allows, instead of just getting tunnel vision with, okay, you look at the iliums, you look at, the compensation patterns, and then just go into wherever their body tells you to start. It complements that for me. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but
yeah, totally makes sense.
Yeah.
What do you like? What is the most fun aspect for you in doing this specific art creation? Would you ever have thought that you'd be doing this?
No. I never thought I would ever be doing artwork again after college. Because I did do commercial advertising is what I took in college. But it turned out in my last semester of college, when we went to the print shops, I was allergic to everything.
Oh, no.
I couldn't even go into the print shops without starting to wheeze.
Okay.
With it, because of the chemicals and stuff.
Yeah.
And I have severe allergies with it. And I did custom artwork, for some print shops during the years. Of course, that was right when computers were starting to come along with in the art world. And I just went into the corporate world and, of course, realized that wasn't for me. And then everyone kept saying I had a knack for finding the spots of pain. So I was like, okay, Lord, if this is where I need to go, then it's the path has got to be open for me. And that path opened up. And I started taking classes for a massage therapist at night while working during the day, because I just realized the corporate world was just not where I needed to be. That wasn't and I grew up in a self-employed family too. So I already had that basis to be independent. So after I got my certification, took about a couple of years. Then that's where it started progressing, and then getting into the barns, and then seeing the results just floored me compared to what I was taught in school. And that's all I cared about, was what was helping my clients. And especially John's thing, to return to an active, pain-free lifestyle just resonated with me, because I have been in a lot of pain myself through partial laminectomy, crushed sciatic nerve, and this keeps me going, as far as getting myofascial on a regular basis as well. And yeah, I see wonderful Sandy and Garth in Nashville. Of course, he does all the music too for MFR as well.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And it's been a journey. It really has. And the artwork has just allowed me to express that to clients and other people's clients, as well as just, it brings me a lot of joy when I can match up a piece with someone else's personality, especially when I do the custom pieces. Sometimes it can have a little stress with that, but when they're like, oh, that's it. That's what it's like, oh, okay, they found it. This is their piece. This is what resonates with them. And it's just a joy to find that. Now, I can't, of course, I do have a full-time myofascial, so this is whenever I have extra time. It's more of I wouldn't say, it's pretty much a hobby, but it's not probably as little as a hobby. Sometimes I might go 3 or 4 months before making a piece. And sometimes I'll post, if I do something new, then I'll post, say, hey, tell me what y'all think about this. Does it look like a big old glob, or does it actually,
or is this something you guys want to buy? Yeah. So tell us, how, if someone is interested in your artwork, how can they find out about it? How can they order from you? Where can they find this information? Is it only on MFR Insight? Tell me how that works. No,
they can just send me a private message through Facebook Messenger. With it, I don't have a gallery with it, because it's just, I don't do enough of them. There's sometimes I'll go through little spurts, but for the most part, if they'll just contact me, send me either a friend request or just send me just a Facebook Messenger. I always check that. That's probably the easiest way to get it. Now, if they don't do Facebook or Facebook Messenger, I know some folks don't, then they can just email me at tallen@restorationbodytherapy.com and just put in the comment fascia artwork request, and I'll communicate with them through there as well. The sizes range from 12 by 12 up to 18 by 24. And of course, the price ranges depending on what type of technique I'd use and what method I use. The resin is more expensive. The 3D is probably the top tier. And the acrylic, I like that one because it's more of affordable price line for everyone too, because it's not so demanding in cost as well. So I try to keep things reasonable. I know some artists out there, $1,000 for a little 16 by 20. I'm like, no, I'm trying to, be a blessing to help with that and keep things. If I charged what I actually put into it in my time, then they would probably be over $1,000 a piece. But so this is more of, like I said, an outlet for myself, but also to try to help to where if somebody does want to purchase one, it's not going to cost them an arm and leg. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you being on the show and sharing your talent with our community and with the world. And I think, I've run into Tonya's artwork here and there, and it's very beautiful, very moving. I hope to own some of my own one day. And for all of you listening, go check out her artwork. I know she's posted on MFR Insight. That's probably the best way to find some of the images, is to just search her name on MFR Insight and then contact her either through Facebook private message or send her an email. And we'll have links to your email in the show notes so people can find you. Anything else you want to say before we sign off?
No, thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. This is the first podcast I've ever done. So
yeah, well, welcome. It's not too bad, huh?
I'm a little old school, but thank you so much and greatly appreciate it. And it's awesome that you do this and have your creative outlet as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thanks everybody else for listening. And I'll see you on another episode of the MFR Coaches Podcast. Bye for now. Thanks for joining me today. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a minute and rate and review the podcast. I appreciate it. For more information, please follow me on Facebook and Instagram @the MFR Coach. And check out my website, www.themfrcoach.com, for more information. If you are currently not working 20 hours or less and making six figures in your MFR business, I want to help you change that. Make sure you tune into the show and get on my email list so you never miss out on important trainings and information. To be the first to find out when we are enrolling next for my 12-month Business Foundations coaching program, get on that email list at www.themfrcoach.com/join. Inside this program, you'll learn how to raise your rate, overcome objections, and sell MFR. You'll become the MFR therapist that never under-earns and never burns out. It's up to us to make MFR mainstream, and it starts with you and your successful MFR practice. See you next week.